Now in this, I tell you what happened. In the vision that I had, I'll go back because I brought the two visions in to show you about one of them. I was to be out west. I've always longed for that. And now the purpose of the message this morning is to post the church and everything that He'll let me post the church to, as far as I know, until as I go along. And this struck me, so I wanted to post the church. Now this is to this tabernacle only, see, to here. Now, and in this vision, the first one, here's what taken place. After the vision struck me, and I was so weak, and I lost all that blood, and once I thought I was sinking into an endless eternity. Many of you have heard me tell this before. And sinking into an endless eternity. First I was going through like clouds, and then through darkness, and sinking on down, down, down. And the first thing you know, I got into the regions of the lost. And in there, I screamed. And I looked, and there just everything, there was no foundation to it. I could never stop falling. For eternity, it looked like I was going to fall. There's no stopping nowhere. And then, what a difference it was from the vision I had here not long ago of being in glory with the people. The contrast. But in this, as I was falling, I screamed for my daddy. Of course, being just a kid, that's what I would do. I screamed for my daddy, and my daddy wasn't there. I screamed for my mother. Somebody catch me. There was no mother there. I was just going. And I screamed then to God. There was no God there. There was nothing there. And after a while, I heard the most mournful sound that I ever heard. And it was the awfulest feeling. There's no way even a literal burning fire would be a pleasure to the sight of what this was. Now, those visions has never been wrong. And it was just one of the most horrible feelings I ever had. And what did I heard? A noise sound like some kind of a haunted affair. And when it was, I looked coming, and it was women. And they had green stuff. You just see their face. And they had green stuff under their eyes, and their eyes looked like run back, like the women today paint their eyes. Run back like that, and just their eyes and face, and they were going, oh my, I just screamed out, oh God, have mercy upon me. Have mercy, oh God, where are you? If you'll only let me go back and live, I promise you to be a good boy. Now that's the only thing I could say. Now God knows, and at the day of judgment, He'll judge me for that statement. That's what I said. Lord God, let me go back, and I'll promise you I'll be a good boy. And when I got shot, I had told lies. I had done pretty everything there was to be done. Only one thing that I said, I might as well just clean it out while I'm right here now. And when I looked down and seen I was half blowed in two almost, I said, God, have mercy on me. You know I never did commit adultery. That's the only thing that I could say to God. I never accepted His pardon and all these things. I just could say I never did commit adultery. And then they've taken me out there. And then in that I cried, God, be merciful to me. I'll be a good boy if you'll only let me go back. For I knew there was a God somewhere. And so help me, those wearied creatures all around, I'd just been a new arrival. In the most hideous, horrible, ungodly feeling in that, looked like great big eyes, the big eyelashes out like that, and run back like a cat, like back like this, and green stuff, and like it cankered or something. And they were going, oh, what a feeling. Now then in a moment's time, I'd come back to natural life again. That thing has bothered me. I thought, oh, let it be that I'll never go to a place like that. No other human being will ever have to go to a place like that. 7 months later, I had the vision of standing in the west and seeing that gold cross coming down upon me. And I knew that there was a regions of the damned somewhere. Now, I never noticed it too much until about 4 weeks ago. The wife never thought of it in this terms. About 4 weeks ago, the wife and I went down to Tucson to do some shopping. And while we were sitting, the wife, we went in downstairs, and there was a bunch of sissy-like boys, had their hair ratted, you know, like the women does, and bangs combed down here in front, and these real high trousers on, kind of, I guess, the beat necks or what you call them. And they were in there, and everybody's looking at them, and their heads is that big like the women that wears these here water head haircuts, you know. And they were down there, and a young woman come by, and she said, "What do you think about that?" I said, "Then you ought to be ashamed of yourself, if you can think that." I said, "He has just as much right to do it as you do. Neither one of you have a right." So I went upstairs, and I sat down, and when I did, there's an escalator. It was in J.C. Penney's store, and the escalator bringing the people up. Well, I really turned sick at my stomach seeing those women come up there, young, old, and indifferent, wrinkled, young, and every way, with little bitty shorts on, their filthy body, and those sexy dressed women with those great big heads like that. And here they come, and one coming right up that escalator is coming right up like that, where I was sitting back in a chair, sitting there with my head down, and I turned and looked, and one of them coming up the steps was saying, Spanish speaking, to another woman. She was a white woman speaking to the Spanish woman. And when I looked, all of at once I was changed. There I'd seen that before. Her eyes, you know how the women are doing now, painting their eyes just recently like cat, you know, put it up like this, and wearing cat glasses and everything, you know, with eyes up like this. And that green stuff there in their eyes, there was that thing that I seen when I was a child. There was the woman, just exactly. And I just got numb all over and began to look around. And there was those people mumbling, you know, going on about the prices and things in the building. And I just looked like it. I just changed for a moment. And I looked and I thought, that's what I saw in hell. There they was, that canker. I thought because they were in hell, what made them that way, had greenish blue under their eyes. And here was these women painted with greenish blue, just the way that vision said about 40 years ago. See? About 40 years ago is what it's been. I'm 54. I was 14. So about 40 years ago, and that's the number anyhow of the judgment, you see. Now I'd seen that, and I couldn't even speak to my wife when she come. She's over there trying to get Sarah and the kids something kind of a dress or something for school, and I couldn't even speak to her. She said, "Bill, what's the matter with you?" I said, "Honey, I'm almost a dead man." And she said, "What's the matter? Are you sick?" I said, "No. Something's just happened." Now, she don't know. She's waiting for this tape to return. I've never said it to nobody. And I thought I'd wait, as I promised, bring it to the church first. Bring it to the church. And that's my promise. And you'll realize after tonight, reason I try to keep my promise. I thought then, as I noticed them cankered looking eyes on them women. There were the Spanish, the French, and Indian, and white, and all together, but that great big heads, you know, bushed up without combs where they comb it back, way big, and then comes out, you know how they do it, fix it in the, like they do it, and then them cankered looking eyes, and the eyes with a paint that run back like a cat's eyes. And them talking, and there I was again, standing there in J.C. Penney's store, back in hell again. I got so scared, I thought, Lord, surely I haven't died, and you've let me come to this place after all. And there they were, making just around like that, in that vision, like you could just barely hear it with your ears, you know, just the mumbling going on with people, and them women coming up that escalator and walking around there, and there's them green and funny-looking eyes, mournful. Wife come up, and I said, "Just let me alone a minute, honey." I said, "If you don't mind, I want to go home." And she said, "Are you sick?" I said, "No. Just go ahead, honey, if you got any shopping to do." She said, "No, I'm finished." And I said, "Let me take you by the arm." See? I walked out. She said, "What's the matter?" I said, "Meaty, something happened up there." And while I was under that, I thought this. What day are we living in? Could this be the third pull? Now, I've got some notes here. Jesus, we find out that Jesus in His ministry, after He had preached to the people, now we're going to be real scriptural on this. After Jesus had finished His ministry, and His ministry was rejected by the people. Now, you'll read between the lines. Draw your own conception. Remember what I told you at the first. After He had preached, He come as a promised one for that day. We all know that. The Scriptures identified Jesus Christ as Messiah. That's right. Thoroughly, firmly vindicated by God and His Word that He was Messiah. There's no question. If anybody question it, if you do, then you should come to the altar, that He wasn't the Messiah. He was clearly identified as a Messiah. But after He clearly, God identified Him, as Peter said on the day of Pentecost, when He talked to the Sanhedrin there about 4 days later, He said, "Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by signs and wonders which God did by Him in the midst, which we all are witnesses." See? You have, talking about wicked hands that have crucified the Prince of Life, which God has raised up and shown forth these things that you see. See? Christ lived on, of course, still is today. Now, after Jesus had clearly came, identified Himself, God identified Him, and He prophesied, and after the days of His prophecy, though scripturally identified, the people rejected Him. That's right. And He preached then, after they rejected Him, here, the ones that had a possibility of being saved. Remember, when He was preaching, there was a possibility of anybody being saved. We don't know who they are, they're predestinated, but He continually preached. But after the days of His preaching, His ministry continued on, because the last group He preached to was the souls that were in hell, that could not be forgiven. I've clearly read that from the Bible here, from 2 Peter. He went and preached to souls that were in prison, which is hell, locked up until the day of the judgment. Because, you see, the judgment isn't now, and there's no burning hell now. Somebody tell you the guy's in burning hell now, that's wrong. See, a judge of this earth is just enough to never condemn a man until he's brought to trial. And God will never throw a man into the fiery furnace until first he is condemned by God's own laws. He rejected mercy. So you see, he first has to have a trial, and the trial is a great white throne judgment. But now he's in a place called a prison house. As I saw the vision of both places, have by the grace of God, I say this not to be sacrilegious, and if it's wrong, God forgive me, I believe I've been in both places. Amen. In both places. And I've seen the redeemed, the blessed, and I've seen the lost and where they were at. And that's why I stand as your brother today to warn you to flee from that downward path. Don't you never go that road. And you've got everything to live for, that blessed upward way, where the redeemed are in joy and peace, and they can't sin, they can't be sorry, there's nothing, they're perfect. Seeing both places. I know that's an awful statement for a person to make, but God being my judge, I solemnly believe I've seen both places. I believe that. And oh, far be it from any person ever entering that regions of the lost. If you were standing with hot wires bored to you, tormented in every way, it'd be not like that devil torment there is in that place. There could be nothing. The human mind couldn't comprehend what that regions of the lost is. There's no way to explain it. And there's no way to explain what the regions of the blessed is. It's so great. That's so horrible, and this is so great. It's from the ridiculous to the sublime. So if anybody hears me, and I'm getting to be an old man, I don't know how much longer I got. I'll soon be 55 years old. And I don't know, according to nature, I may not have too many years. I don't know where this tape will go. But let everyone hear in the tape or wherever it may go. Don't never go towards that regions of the lost. You can't picture hell being that bad. And whatever you do, don't you never forget this, that the regions of the blessed, I would say this with St. Paul, eye has not seen, ear has not heard, or either could it enter the heart of man what God has for them in store that love Him. So stop if you're listening to the tape, turn the machine off, and repent if you're not saved, and get right with God. Saying this by first-hand experience, as I believe in my heart, and I say, if the visions has deceived me, God be merciful for me to make a statement like that, but with the sincerity in my heart, knowing that not one of them visions ever failed, I believe that I have been in both places. Far be it from any human being going that road downward. Now, Jesus, after He had finished His ministry, preached to those souls that were unsavable, that could not ever be saved. Now, the Bible tells us that. He went and preached to the souls that were in prison that repented not. When mercy was given to them, they spurned mercy, and now they're waiting for the judgment. Oh, what a time that must have been. Oh, I wish there was some way I could shake the world with that to let them see what the reality is.